Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey back with another episode of That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. Each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. For the first time in over a year, I'm flying solo this week, talking about the Star Wars Bad Batch Season 3 premiere, 3 episodes. That was episodes Confined, Paths Unknown, and Shadows of Tantiss. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Season 3 here, all dropped at the same time. Cameron been busy this last week, so he wasn't able to join me, and nobody else really knew that we were doing this week. So it's just me, and it's probably going to be a little bit of a quick one, in particular because I'm basically recording this episode after I've gotten off work and before Cameron gets home, because I know he's going to want to be in here in the office playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I do as well, but my copy is delayed and will not be arriving in time. Wah, wah. Anyway, so talking about the Bad Batch. Why did we pick it? Because it's a new thing on Disney Plus, and Star Wars is usually a pretty fun topic to dig into. And I, of the team, have been the only one that has kept up with the Bad Batch. Although, admittedly, I was very appreciative for the previously on thing, because I had vaguely remembered that Tech basically fell to his seemingly death in the end of last season, and but I had forgotten that Omega got captured and kind of was now with Nala Se and kind of under the Empire's thumb and in their clutches and stuff like that. So it was a nice little refresher to remind me where we left off and to get me caught up to speed. So a little bit of history lesson here. These episodes were originally released February 21st, 2024, and Season 3 as a whole is releasing between February 21st and May 1st, 2024. So this will be basically leading us right up to the, of course, May the 4th celebrations. So maybe we'll see something Bad Batch related. This is the third and final season. They've very much come out and said that, but maybe we'll see something kind of in the immediate aftermath of, are these characters going to continue on in some other form or fashion? Who knows? These episodes have a runtime of between 27 and 33 minutes. I believe it was 33 minutes for the first one and then 27 minutes for each of the next two. Obviously, in the Star Wars timeline of things, as we always are here with the Bad Batch, we continue to be in a post-Revenge of the Sith, pre-Star Wars Rebels kind of world. Our roll call here, we have across these 3 episodes, 3 directors and then kind of 1 supervising director. The 3 directors are Saul Ruiz for the episode Confined. He has done Star Wars The Clone Wars, 4 episodes of that, 12 episodes of Star Wars Rebels, 6 episodes of Star Wars Resistance, 4 episodes of Tales of the Jedi, and now he's up to 11 episodes of The Bad Batch. Nathaniel Villanueva directs Paths Unknown, the 2nd episode of this trilogy. He's done 4 episodes of The Clone Wars, 1 episode of Tales of the Jedi, and now 13 episodes of Bad Batch. And Stuart Lee is the director of the 3rd episode, Shadows of Tantiss. She did 15 episodes of Rebels, 19 episodes of Resistance, 23 episodes of The Clone Wars, and 14 episodes of The Bad Batch. And supervising director on all 3 of these episodes is Brad Rao. He has directed 5 episodes of Rebels, 18 episodes of the Star Wars Forces of Destiny series, 7 episodes of Star Wars Resistance, and he's worked on 19 episodes of The Bad Batch in some form or fashion. We have 2 writers across these episodes. We have Jennifer Corbett, wrote Confined. In addition to Star Wars, she's done 21 episodes of NCIS. She's done 3 episodes of Star Wars Resistance. She is the co-creator of Star Wars The Bad Batch alongside, of course, Dave Filoni. And she has also written on 10 of the episodes. Matt Miknovich, I'd say Miknovich, is the writer for our other 2 episodes here, Paths Unknown and Shadows of Tantiss. He wrote or worked on, I think as a story editor, on up to upwards of 66 episodes of 24 back in the day. In the Star Wars space, he wrote on 11 episodes of Star Wars Rebels. He is one of the writers of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, as well as Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the video games from Respawn. He's also done 11 episodes of the Clone Wars, and he has written on, in some form or fashion, 36 episodes of The Bad Batch. So a good chunk of these have his hand in it. I think a lot of those are like story editor or something like that, but he's credited on 36 episodes of this show. Our cast of characters, of course, as the titular Bad Batch, we have D. Bradley Baker continuing on as so many of his clone variants over the run. As we often shout him out, you can find him as the voice of Olmec in the old Legends of the Hidden Temple series. He's also Daffy Duck in Space Jam, Klaus in American Dad, and he's been various clone troopers in the Clone Wars and Star Wars related properties since 2008. Michelle Ang is our Omega here. She's been in projects like Fear the Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead Flight 462, and she was also in last year's Starfield. Jimmy Simpson is kind of our big bad this season, seemingly, or at least for the last few episodes, as Dr. Royce Hemlock, maybe best known to audiences from his time on Westworld. He's also been in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, The Man Who Fell to Earth, and Star Trek Prodigy. Keisha Castle Hughes is Emery Carr. She's been with Star Wars for a long time, playing the Queen of Naboo in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. In addition to that, she was one of the Sand Sisters in HBO's Game of Thrones. She was also in Gotham Knights recently on the video game side of things. Gwendolyn Yao as Nala Se here, which is a role she's been playing since she started doing it in the Clone Wars at some point, but she's also been in Desperate Housewives, and then on the video game side of things, she's been in Lost Judgment and Diablo 4. Julian Dennison makes an appearance in episode 2 as Deke and Stack, a couple of the young versions of the clone troopers. He's also been in Hunt for the Wilder People, Deadpool 2, and Godzilla vs. Kong. Angelica Houston is Isa Durand in that second episode, having also been in projects like The Grifters, The Addams Family, of course, back in the 90s. She's also in the Drew Barrymore classic Ever After. She's a Wes Anderson regular, and she was in Star Wars Visions when we talked about that in season 2. She was one of the like big bad evil Sith spirits or something like that in one of those episodes. We have Liam O'Brien as the Deveronian captain, of course, best known maybe to audiences these days from his work on Critical Role. He's also been a voice actor extraordinaire for many, many years. I recently got to see him again in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children when Cam and I went and caught that last week in theaters. Daniel Logan plays Mox, one of the other young cadet variants of our clone troopers. Of course, Daniel Logan, famously Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones. So all of the younger clones kind of have his look and feel. And he's also, of course, returned to portray Boba Fett as well as younger clone troopers across the Clone Wars and Rebels and various other Star Wars media. And finally, we have an appearance, a cameo of Ian McDiarmid as Emperor Palpatine, which he's been playing since 1983's Return of the Jedi. And then, technically, he's been reinserted into Empire Strikes Back, but he did not originally play the Emperor until 1983 for that film. Prior to the remasters, it was a very different, I think like a monkey. I think a monkey was the original Emperor. Some trivia here. In the episode Confined, the hash marks on Omega's cell wall reveal that the story starts about 21 days after her arrival on Mount Tantiss and ends around day 164. Her hair has noticeably grown longer by the end. Also, Crosshair says Omega's name for the first time in the entire series in that episode. Paths unknown. As we touched on, Daniel Logan returns to voice the clone cadet Mox, sorry, who having first appeared in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, as the young Boba Fett, and he has voiced both young Boba Fett and clone cadets several times. And Issa Durand is the first canonical female Deveronian to appear on screen, and the first to have large horns on her forehead. In the Legends continuity, it had been established that female Deveronians do not have prominent horns, but clearly we've switched that out a little bit. And then in the Shadows of Tantiss episode, Hemlock and Palpatine discuss Project Necromancer, an Imperial project first mentioned by Captain Pelion in The Mandalorian, Chapter 23, The Spies, last year. So yeah, diving into these episodes, I'm one that largely the Bad Batch hasn't grabbed me in the way that Clone Wars or especially Rebels did. I still I've watched them all, but a lot of them have been like monster of the week and largely forgettable. And I think there might, I don't know, because like there's an element of it that's kind of in that same like Rebels vein of like, well, we know how the story is going to end. Like ultimately, we know this is a time in between the the events of Revenge of the Sith and the prominent rise of the Empire. So we haven't gotten to A New Hope yet. There is little hope out there in the galaxy. It does continue to be interesting to see like how clone troopers are received or seen after the war, both by civilians as well as kind of the ever growing presence of the new stormtroopers, and very much the dismissal of the Empire and the Imperial officers and that kind of stuff. In these episodes, we of course have kind of the first and third episodes really centered around the struggle and the routine, I guess, that Omega is kind of falling into, which almost has similar vibes to the prison episodes of Andor, but obviously those are some of the best episodes of an incredible series in Andor, so they don't quite live up to that. But I do appreciate that that Omega is still Omega, and she's finding moments to try and connect with Crosshair, and like she hasn't given up hope. She thinks that she believes that Hunter and Wrecker are still out there searching, looking for a way to help her. She wants to try and she still sees the good in Crosshair, wants to like bring him back into the fold and escape with him. Obviously we also get her was it Batcher? Batcher, the creature that she basically feeds and domesticates and takes care of. I like Hemlock as a villain is like, obviously this seems to be very clearly foreshadowing, setting up the ludicrous episode 9 twist of the Emperor somehow coming back, all those years later. And it seems that based on these episodes that like Omega is the key to that. They keep, obviously they're trying to find a way to get an M count, aka a midichlorian count that, that carries over from host to clone. And this has been alluded to in The Mandalorian with all the Grogu stuff as well. So, and this would be all pre-Grogu, because The Mandalorian also all takes place post episode 6. So maybe they've found that Omega is a good match here. Also very interesting because obviously that also implies that Omega has the Force and midichlorian stuff, and maybe that's been established before and I've just completely forgotten it, but it seems fascinating because obviously she comes from a clone that didn't or wasn't particularly Force sensitive in Jango Fett. So fascinating if Nala Se has kind of in Omega created someone that can be Force sensitive from genetic cloning and whatnot. Guess we'll see where that plays out over the course of the season. But I do like that eventually she does kind of with Nala Se's help and Keycard, and knowing that like Palpatine is there and whatnot, kind of gets a chance to escape, kind of wings this plan with Crosshair, and they kind of make it out into the woods and off world, and like her being the ultimate MacGuffin for Hemlock, and therefore Hemlock basically letting her escape and calling off the troops. Fascinating. I'll be curious to see if this somehow does dovetail into Grogu in some appearance this season, where maybe Omega gets away and goes off to live, a life with Wrecker and Hunter, and Crosshair, or maybe Crosshair, dies valiantly for redemption or something like that. But in doing something, it leads Grogu to get captured, and that leads Grogu to being kind of where Grogu is come the beginning of The Mandalorian. Who knows what we'll see on that front, but obviously, yeah, it all seems to be gearing up for Project Necromancer and Palpatine being able to come back from the dead in some form or fashion with a hopefully not reduced M count, I guess. And then in between the two episodes, we get kind of look at things from Hunter and Wrecker. And it is like, it was that episode where I was like, oh man, that is like going from the original Bad Batch of Hunter, Wrecker, Tech, and Crosshair, then, in their kind of soft pilot debut in the Clone Wars, they brought in Echo into the fold. Obviously Crosshair turned bad pretty quickly in the series. And Echo then departed to go work on stuff with Captain Rex, I believe. Captain Rex or Commander Cody, I don't remember which one. But then losing Tech and Omega, obviously, like that ship that they're on, that Hunter and Wrecker are on, just feels so much quieter, and like when it is like, oh, suddenly it's just the two of them. Like they clearly couldn't do a lot with just the two of them, so I appreciate that they like immediately kind of land on this planet in their investigation and are met by some younger cadets, young clone cadets. Also, it was a cool intro in the underworld, where they've kind of been trading for information to try and get a hint at where Omega is captured, because they've obviously made that their mission to get her back. It's been about 6 months, so they haven't given up on her. Her faith is justified, certainly. And then the rest of the episode is like, okay, it was, yes, there was, Hemlock did have a base there at some point, but obviously they're long gone, they're elsewhere, so they get the information on where they might be. And so we'll see now that I'll be curious yet. And I just haven't watched the latest episode that I believe is up and available now, and I just haven't sat around to it yet. But looking forward to seeing how our two parties kind of get reunited now that Omega and Crosshair are, ostensibly free of the clutches of the Empire. I imagine it'll be easier for them to track down Hunter and Wrecker, but obviously the Empire will certainly be on their heels, maybe stick some bounty hunters out after them. We've seen like Aura Singh in the trailers and stuff like that, so I'll be curious to see how she folds into this kind of period of the shows. And yeah, just ultimately I'm curious to see, especially now that they know this is like the end point and this is their like last and final run of episodes. I'm curious to see what threads really kind of bubble up to the surface and kind of take prominence in this final season. Like obviously I think we'll see more kind of in the bridging the gap to set up and ultimately justify Project Necromancer, even if it's still a very dumb thing and will never not be a dumb thing of somehow Emperor Palpatine has returned. But we'll see where we'll see where we go from here. So I'm definitely going to continue to check in. It might be one of those like I let a few episodes kind of build up, and then I'll just kind of spend a weekend binging or something like that. But I'll definitely follow along as the series continues and wraps up. So let me know what your thoughts are, I guess, in the comments below. In terms of a report card, I give these probably just a B. Certainly nothing bad about them, but also nothing that makes me go, oh my God, that was like the coolest thing ever. I did like the strategy between Omega and Crosshair, and like there was a great moment of like, do you know Plan 72? Of course, Tech made me learn all of the plans. Of course he did. It's a nice little moment between those two characters, and Plan 72 basically being like, Omega hijacks the ship while Crosshair draws fire. So that was a fun bit there. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. You, of course, have The Mandalorian, Andor, Tales of the Jedi, Star Wars The Clone Wars series, Star Wars Rebels, Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Book of Boba Fett, and I don't know why they keep pushing this, but it's still the one they push, Zen, Grogu and Dust Bunnies, aka the 3-minute Studio Ghibli short with Grogu and Dust Bunnies. Extracurriculars, I don't think I've watched anything else on Disney Plus recently. That's going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. A little bit on the shorter side since it was just me, but thank you for joining me for the episode. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. Things I will shout out. Go check out our That Nerdy Site show. I'm sure this coming week we'll be talking a lot about our first Final Fantasy VII Rebirth impressions. Go check out my ongoing Let's Plays Tuesdays and Thursdays of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. If you want my full thoughts on Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, that's in last week's That Nerdy Site show. Not sure what we'll be talking about for next week's That D Plus show. We'll have to figure something out, but stay tuned for that when the time comes. If you like what you heard, once again, please like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining me. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, class dismissed, and may the force be with you.